babes, I need everyone to literally stop what they are doing right now. Just pull the car over.
Yeah, put the laundry down.
Seriously, put it down. Stare blankly at the wall and just listen to me for a second. Because I have had a terrifying, earth-shattering realization today.
Uh-oh. I know that tone. What happened?
Okay, reality TV exes are not just television. They are a literal psychological form of emotional torture that was manufactured in some clandestine laboratory just to destroy hot people in swimwear. I am entirely convinced.
Oh, honestly, you are not wrong. It is truly a sociological experiment that we are just lucky enough to watch from the comfort of our own couches.
It violates international treaties. It is emotional warfare. And babes, I am stressed. My heart rate is elevated. I am sweating through my loungewear. And I am living for every single chaotic second of it.
Welcome back, babes. Whenever you hear this, wherever you are, we love you, we thank you, and please share this mess, because we simply cannot carry the burden of this secondary trauma alone.
No, we absolutely cannot. You need to drag your friends down into the mud with us so we can all process this collective hysteria together. Send this to the messiest person in your group chat right now.
Specifically the one who always goes back to their toxic ex. They need to hear this.
Oh my God, yes. Because it is a Tuesday evening, the vibes in this room are absolutely immaculate, and despite the heavy emotional toll of watching British reality stars scream at each other on a beach, we are genuinely having such an amazing night.
We really are. And I feel like we need to be fully transparent with the Snark Squad right now about what is actually fueling this evening's recording.
Wait, yes, please explain the beverage situation.
Because we are currently operating on a very specific, highly volatile mixture of pure sugar, processed dairy, and sheer delusional adrenaline.
It is going to change your life, babes. We have concocted the most dangerously good beverage to ever exist on this planet.
It's essentially a tropical juice box for adults who have completely lost control of their lives.
Literally. So we took mango and strawberry puree, the really thick, syrupy kind, and we aggressively, violently mixed it into iced wine slushies.
It is so sweet. The fruit completely masks the alcohol, which means we are, 3 glasses deep right now?
At least 3. And I am vibrating at a frequency that could shatter glass. I feel like I could run a marathon or fight a bear in a parking lot.
It bypasses the liver completely and goes straight to the pleasure centers of the brain. I have zero regrets. But wait, we have to talk about the real star of the evening.
Oh my God, the foundation of this entire podcast recording.
The Chili's cheese sticks.
I am emotional just thinking about them.
We have eaten, well, I'm not going to disclose the exact number because I legally do not have to incriminate myself on a hot mic.
No, keep it vague, protect our peace.
But we have consumed a volume of fried cheese that no medical professional on earth would ever advise. Huge, massive shout out to Chili's.
Babes, I am not exaggerating when I say these cheese sticks could honestly fix me emotionally. If I am ever going through a devastating breakup, or I lose my job, or my car breaks down.
Do you not send flowers?
Exactly. Flowers die. Just send a direct delivery of the molten mozzarella, the cheese pull, the perfectly seasoned breading.
And the side of marinara that is slightly cold while the cheese is scalding hot. It's poetry.
It is healing my inner child as we speak. I am transcending.
Honestly, if Chili's Corporate is listening and wants to sponsor the podcast, we are incredibly available.
Call us. We will change the name of the show to something cheese-themed.
We will wear the little pepper logo on our foreheads. We are cheap, our morals are flexible, and we can easily be bought with fried dairy.
I have no shame about it, but until that lucrative sponsorship check clears, we have to rely on the absolute dregs of human dating behavior to keep us fed. And babes, we are here to spiral.
We are so ready to spiral. But before we even get into the utter devastation and nuclear fallout that is the beach villa right now, we need to talk to the Snark Squad.
Oh, the submissions. Babes, you guys have been unhinged lately.
You all have been sliding into our DMs with the most feral stories of your own lives. The level of chaos residing in our inbox right now is deeply concerning from a public health perspective.
But wildly, phenomenally entertaining.
Oh, 100%. Reading your messages really makes me feel better about my own life choices, because at least I am not doing, whatever it is you people are doing out there.
Right. So we decided we need to read a few of these on air. It is time for our favorite little game. Shady, snarky, or stupid.
I love this game. We are going to read 3 listener confessions, and we have to officially categorize the behavior.
Okay, I am so ready. I have the first one pulled up right here on my phone. Biggs, buckle up because this is dark.
Oh, God, lay it on me.
Okay, this listener says, quote, "My extremely toxic ex, who I blocked on absolutely everything 3 years ago, Found out my sister was getting married.
Already terrible.
Right. It gets worse. It was a destination wedding in Mexico. I did not invite him. My sister obviously did not invite him. Tell me why I walked into the hotel lobby on the night before the wedding, and this man is just sitting at the resort bar.
No way.
Yes, sitting at the bar, drinking a margarita, acting like he just coincidentally booked a solo vacation at the exact same resort on the exact same weekend.
Oh my God. The psychological warfare.
Wait, there's one more sentence. He didn't even try to crash the wedding itself. He just sat at the hotel bar the entire weekend, so I would have to walk past him every single time I left my room.
That is, I mean, the absolute terror of that. That is not even shady or snarky. That is bordering on a supervillain origin story.
It makes me want to scream. It makes me want to throw things across the room.
Let's actually analyze the logistics of this madness for a second. Think about the hoops this man had to jump through.
The planning.
He had to stalk peripheral friends just to figure out the exact dates. He had to research the specific resort in Mexico. He had to request paid time off from his employer.
He had to pack a bag.
He had to make sure his passport was up to date. And then he had to drop probably $2,000 to $3,000 on international flights and an all-inclusive package solely to be a jump scare in a hotel lobby.
If I am on a beautiful, pristine beach in Mexico, right, trying to celebrate my family's love, and I turn around and see the man who ruined my 20s sipping a frozen drink out of a coconut.
What would you do, honestly?
I am calling resort security. I am throwing his drink into the infinity pool. I am causing a massive scene that is so deeply manipulative.
It's completely unhinged. And sociologically speaking, this is a prime example of proximity stalking. He knows he can't legally cross the boundary into the private wedding venue, right?
Right, because he'd get arrested.
Exactly. So he hovers in the transitional spaces, the lobby, the bar, the pathways. He does it to establish psychological dominance. He wants to remind her, I am an omnipresent force in your life, and you cannot escape me, not even in another country.
Ew, that is so sick.
So I'm going to officially rule this as stupid on his part, because he wasted thousands of dollars in his precious vacation days just to be a creepy background extra in your sister's wedding photos.
But the intent is shady. Shady on a molecular, terrifying level.
Definitely. Okay, what's confession number 2?
Okay, this one is... wow, I actually kind of love this one. Okay, I recently ran into my awful ex's extremely hot roommate at a dimly lit bar.
Oh, a dimly lit bar. Setting the scene.
My ex put me through literal hell. Cheating, lying, gaslighting, the works. So when the hot roommate offered to buy me a drink, I accidentally, on purpose, let him take me back to their shared apartment while my ex was out of town.
Okay, getting messy.
It gets messier. We hooked up, and when I left the next morning, I quote-unquote accidentally left a very specific, brightly colored neon pink lace bra tucked slightly under the couch cushions.
Oh my God.
Tucked where I knew my ex would eventually sit, find it, and immediately recognize exactly who it belonged to.
See, this right here, this is exactly why I love our listeners.
Yeah.
The strategic, calculated malice of this maneuver.
I am screaming. I am actually crying real tears of joy right now.
The tactical deployment of the brightly colored lace garment. It's like planting a flag on conquered territory.
Just visualize the scene with me. Imagine the ex coming home, exhausted from his little trip. He tosses his keys on the counter, right?
Just innocently wandering into his own living room.
He wanders over to his couch to play video games. He moves a throw pillow, and suddenly, neon pink lace is just staring back at him. The visceral horror.
The betrayal.
The sheer confusion of trying to figure out the timeline.
It is brilliant because it shatters all plausible deniability. If she just texted him and told him she hooked up with his roommate, the roommate would deny it. They would gaslight her.
They always gaslight.
But a physical artifact, specifically tucked in a communal space, that is undeniable physical evidence of a breach in the bro code.
So what are we rating this?
Well, the roommate is definitely stupid for crossing that line so spectacularly in his own living room. Like, he has to live with this guy. What an idiot.
Total idiot. But the listener...
Pure, unadulterated snarky. It is a masterpiece of petty revenge. You didn't just hit him where it hurts. You infiltrated his sanctuary. You turned his own living space into a crime scene. Chef's kiss.
Honestly, she is an icon, a messy, chaotic, beautiful icon, and I hope she bought herself a new, even cuter bra to celebrate. Okay, last one. Confession number 3.
Bring it home.
I went on a first date with a guy I met on a dating app. It was incredibly boring. He chewed his food aggressively with his mouth open, and he talked exclusively about his crypto portfolio for 45 straight minutes.
Immediate red flags. All of them.
As I was walking to my car in the parking lot, I recorded a deeply messy, heavily detailed 3-minute voice note complaining about how awful the date was.
Uh-oh. I see where this is going.
I described his terrible chewing sounds, his tragic outfit, and how I'd rather watch paint dry in a windowless room than ever see him again. I went to send it to my group chat,
Please tell me she didn't.
and because of my fat thumbs, I accidentally sent it directly to him.
Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. I am physically recoiling into my chair. My soul just left my body.
The full-body cringe I just experienced could power a small metropolitan city for a week.
I would have to leave the country. I am dead serious. I would literally throw my phone into a municipal storm drain.
I would change my name to Brenda. I would dye my hair black and move to a remote, freezing fishing village in Norway. You can never, ever show your face in your home city again.
The embarrassment would literally stop my heart. Let's talk about the absolute sheer panic of watching that little audio bar fill up
Seeing the little green check mark appear.
and realizing you're in the wrong chat window. Modern app design has failed us. You cannot unsend a voice note once they open the app. The moment they hit play, your fate is sealed.
They are listening to you narrate their flaws in high definition.
That is, without debate, entirely stupid. It's a classic, devastating technological disaster.
The ultimate dating disaster. Speaking of technological disasters, babes, we need to have a very serious, very vulnerable, highly transparent conversation with the Snark squad right now.
Oh, God. Are we doing this?
We have to, because our brains are actively rotting out of our skulls as we speak, and it is entirely our own fault.
It really is. We have entered a massive, shameful phone addiction spiral this week, and I am not proud to admit it on a public platform.
It's so bad.
I fully understand now why sociological studies are showing that global attention spans are just decimated. Because I, an adult with a mortgage, a career, responsibilities, and this show to run,
Say it. Confess to the class.
I downloaded Candy Crush.
You are a menace to society and to yourself.
I accidentally became emotionally invested within the first 45 minutes. It started as a joke. I was just bored waiting in line at the pharmacy. I thought, oh, a little retro gaming moment.
A retro moment that ruined your life.
And now I am seeing the little striped, glowing candies when I close my eyes to sleep. I am analyzing the geometry of the board like I'm a prehistoric hunter tracking prey in the wild.
It's honestly concerning to watch.
If I don't clear the double jelly on level 400 with my limited moves, my actual, real-life, physical mood is ruined for the rest of the day. My dopamine receptors have been completely hijacked by a digital grid of sugar.
It's so embarrassing for us because I cannot even sit here and judge you. I want to, but I literally can't.
Wait, what did you do?
Babes, I have confessed this to absolutely no one, not even my therapist. But I downloaded one of those adult coloring book apps on my iPad.
Wait, the digital ones?
What?
Where you don't even actually color, you just tap a zone to fill it with a pre-selected pigment?
Yes, exactly. And
Hmm.
I have been obsessively, feverishly tapping my glowing screen to color in random digital flowers, intricate mandalas, and whimsical little woodland mushrooms for hours.
Oh, God.
Literal hours. I am laying in bed at 2 a.m. The blue light is destroying my circadian rhythm, and I am meticulously zooming into like 400% magnification just to make sure the shading on a digital toadstool is perfectly lilac.
You are losing your grip on reality.
I really am.
This is an epidemic. We are becoming iPad kids as grown adults. That's exactly what is happening to us. We are regressing to a toddler state.
The internet has officially fried our frontal lobes to a crisp.
Instead of networking or optimizing our retirement portfolios or reading a piece of classic literature or doing literally anything constructive with our fleeting time on this earth.
I am matching exploding pixelated candies, and you are tapping a piece of glass to make a fake digital leaf turn neon green.
Babes, we are not giving soft curl sugar baby energy right now. We are giving something else entirely. We are giving feral hermit.
We are giving Hobbit gamer babes. We are sitting in a dark, climate-controlled room, hunched over glowing rectangles, actively avoiding the nourishing rays of the sun. It is a tragedy.
We are completely losing massive chunks of our lifespan to absolute nonsense apps designed by behavioral psychologists to keep us engaged.
Hobbit gamer babes. I am screaming, but it is so painfully true. And what makes it so much worse, what is really twisting the knife, is that while we are sitting here in our dark little caves, obsessively coloring fake mushrooms, we are watching this reality show.
Oh, the show?
And my tropical vacation envy is reaching a boiling point. I am spiraling over Tenerife. I am actively resentful of my own life.
It is genuinely, fundamentally unfair. We are watching Celebrity X on the beach.
Yeah.
And the geographic setting alone is enough to send me into a mild depressive episode.
It is gorgeous.
The weather, the UV index, the clear, sparkling blue water, the massive architectural marvel of a villa with the infinity pool overlooking the cliffs.
And the hot, physically optimized people just wandering around in luxury designer swimwear. Their skin is glistening with tanning oil, looking absolutely flawless while making the most catastrophic, life-ruining decisions imaginable.
It is the vacation energy. It just permeates the screen. I want that. I need that in my spirit.
Do you remember our last trip together? Think about it. We went to Salem, which, don't get me wrong, I love a historical witch moment.
Salem was great. It was educational.
But Salem gave spooky, cozy New England autumnal vibes. We were wearing heavy, itchy wool sweaters, we were struggling to walk on uneven cobblestones in boots, reading placards on historical graves from the 1600s, and drinking lukewarm apple cider.
It was quaint.
Exactly, quaint. But looking at this villa in Tenerife, babes, this is giving hot girl tropical chaos.
Totally different aesthetic.
This show makes me want high SPF sunscreen and terrible impulsive decisions. I want to be deeply bronzed, wearing a linen two-piece, holding an oversized cocktail with a tiny pink umbrella in it, and screaming at a gorgeous man by a swimming pool because he looked at another woman. Is that too much to ask of the universe?
I completely agree. My soul craves it.
Yeah.
I want sweeping ocean views and a rich, fleeting vacation romance immediately. I want to wear sheer silk cover-ups that serve absolutely zero practical purpose other than looking incredibly dramatic when the ocean breeze catches the fabric as I storm away from an argument.
But let's be real for a second. The real question is, could either of us actually survive reality TV dating?
Oh, absolutely not.
Like if a producer knocked on our door, kidnapped us, and dropped us into that specific villa tomorrow, how fast would we completely and utterly spiral?
Instantly. Let's be highly analytical about this for a second.
Oh.
As self-proclaimed Hobbit gamer babes, we wouldn't even survive the atmospheric conditions in Tenerife.
Not a chance.
We would be violently sunburned by noon on day one. Our skin hasn't seen real sunlight in months. And that's before the psychological warfare the Tablet of Terror even begins.
The tablet would ruin me.
I wouldn't be able to handle the forced proximity. I would be sitting in the corner, analyzing everyone's micro-expressions, realize that every single person is lying to each other, and I would just lock myself in the pantry with the imported snacks and refuse to wear a microphone.
I would not even make it to the pantry the minute an ex walked out of the ocean, especially if they were wearing one of those tight, slow-motion wetsuits with the water dripping off their hair.
Your nightmare.
My fight or flight would kick in, and I would choose flight. I would simply walk into the ocean myself and let the tide take me out to sea. I could not handle the emotional confrontation.
Which is exactly why we are obsessed with watching these people do it. We get to consume all the delicious drama, all the betrayal, all the screaming, with absolutely zero of the actual emotional damage to our own nervous systems.
And speaking of emotional damage, I think it is time. We have to dive into this recap of Season 4, Episode 6, the episode titled Extraterrestrials Incoming.
The title alone is pure, unadulterated camp.
But the actual events of the episode, the psychology on display, it broke me. It fundamentally broke my understanding of human decency.
Babes, we are avid, obsessive fans of this mess, and I'm dying to tell the Snark Squad exactly what happened. We are going to give you all of our thoughts, every single ounce of the shade, the side eyes, the whispered confessionals, because this episode wasn't just reality TV. It was a masterclass in messy, toxic behavior. I have notes, I have theories, I have rage.
Let's set the scene for everyone because context is crucial. We enter this episode reeling from the fallout of the last elimination. Helen and Rogan were just brutally sent packing.
So the baseline anxiety in the villa is already incredibly high. Everyone is on edge, the alliances are shaky, they're looking over their shoulders, wondering who is next on the chopping block.
So what do the producers do to manage this stress? They throw a party. But not just any party to blow off steam, they force them into a space party.
A space party? The wardrobe was so chaotic.
They are all forced to dress up in cheap silver foil, metallic spandex, and little plastic alien antenna. They look ridiculous, but they are taking themselves so seriously while dressed like budget astronauts.
And honestly, if you look at it from a sociological lens, the alien theme is the perfect, beautiful, almost poetic metaphor for this entire cast of characters.
Wait, how so?
Because every single person in that villa is completely and utterly disconnected from reality. They're operating on a totally different planet when it comes to communication, empathy, and self-awareness. They are aliens trying to mimic human courtship rituals, and they are failing miserably.
That is so true. They are literally in outer space emotionally. And right in the middle of this ridiculous foil-covered party, we have Danny and Toby.
Let's talk about Danny.
Danny has finally been making some actual tangible progress with Toby. She's been struggling all season. She has her walls up, but she's finally opening up to him. She's smiling.
And then suddenly, a disturbance is detected in the galaxy.
A pair of extraterrestrials invades the Villa Beach. And who is it? It's Danny's toxic ex, Reese, re-entering the atmosphere to ruin her life.
The timing is diabolical, but completely engineered. Just as she takes 20 agonizing steps forward in her healing journey, he is deployed to drag her right back into the mud.
It's so cruel.
And let's really look at Danny's emotional state here, because it's fascinating. In her private confessional, she drops her guard. She admits that she hates him for what he did to her, but she also drops this devastatingly sad line.
Oh, I know the line.
She looks at the camera and says, quote, "He's like the only person I've ever loved, but at the end of the day, you've made your bed. We could have been so happy, but he's just ruined it."
Babes, I was spiraling during that confessional. I had to pause the TV. Because it is so intensely draining to hold on to that much anger. You can visibly see how heavy it is for her.
Exhausting.
The deep, lingering trauma of looking at someone you genuinely thought you were going to marry, someone you loved with your whole chest, and knowing they completely destroyed the relationship through their own selfish actions.
Yep.
And then, as if the universe is mocking you, you have to see them standing there at a space party in a ridiculous metallic costume while you are just trying to flirt and move on with a nice new guy.
It is the sunk cost fallacy in action. She invested so much time into him, and letting go means accepting the loss. And then we get the inevitable sit-down conversation between Danny and Reese.
Oh, God.
And let me tell you, this was easily one of the most painfully awkward, physically uncomfortable pieces of television I have consumed this entire year.
Yeah.
They sit down on the furniture, and Reese is just sitting there, emitting panic.
He was polishing his knee. That is the only way to describe it. The way she described it in the confessional, polishing his knee like a banister. What does that even mean? Who does that?
It means he was nervously rubbing his hand up and down his own thigh so aggressively with such frantic speed that he was practically creating friction heat. He was trying to start a fire on his own kneecap.
It was so weird.
That is the involuntary body language of a man who knows he is completely out of his depth. It's a self-soothing mechanism to handle his massive cognitive dissonance. He's trying to play it cool. He tries to make peace, claiming he just wants to clear the air so they can both be adults and move on in the villa.
But Danny, thank God, holds her ground. She doesn't melt. She firmly states to his face that she is over him, that she's not interested in rekindling anything, and that being around him without feeling incredibly awkward is all she expects or wants from this experience. She shuts the door.
She did beautifully. But here is where I have to look at the underlying mechanics. I want you to think about this. I ask you, and I ask the Snark Squad, is Reese actually trying to be respectful here? Is he genuinely trying to give her closure as a mature adult?
No.
Or is this purely a primal instinct? Is he just marking his territory because he walked onto that beach, scanned the environment, and immediately saw Danny smiling and moving on with Toby?
Oh, babes, you know the answer to that. He is absolutely marking his territory like a dog on a fire hydrant. Men like that do not want you, but they absolutely do not want anyone else to have you either. It is a sickness.
Exactly.
He saw her smiling with Toby. He saw that he was no longer the center of her universe, and suddenly his ego couldn't handle it. Suddenly he needed to have a quote-unquote mature, deep conversation to forcibly insert his presence back into her mind. It's a classic toxic X maneuver to disrupt your peace.
Precisely. It's an assertion of dominance masquerading as closure. He wants to be the sun she orbits, even if he has no intention of treating her well. And Toby, to his credit, handled the disruption well. But you can visibly feel the gravity of Reese pulling Danny's energy and attention away from the new connection.
It's exhausting to watch. But thankfully, while Danny is dealing with that heavy emotional baggage, the producers decide to give the audience a brief palate cleanser. A moment of pure, unadulterated, wholesome joy. We have to talk about John.
Oh, sweet, precious, wonderful John. He's the light of this show. He's been the villa's resident fun guy all season. He's the joker, the guy who lifts everyone's spirits, the one making breakfast, but he never really gets any deep romantic traction.
He's a best friend character.
Right. And then the tablet rings, and ground control tells Major John to go wait by the beach for a surprise date.
He is so visibly excited, but also terrified. You can see his hands shaking. He walks up to the date setup, waiting to see who emerges from the water. And there she is, his ex, Sarah, from Dublin.
And babes, the immediate, profound shift in John's demeanor was staggering to witness. It was like watching a different person.
I am not afraid to admit it to you or the Snark squad. I cried. I literally sat on my couch holding a cheese stick and cried real salty human tears.
It was so moving.
The way his face just instantly fell, the tough guy facade melted away and he just broke down into tears. It was so overwhelmingly pure. He's been acting so tough and funny all season, deflecting with humor, but just seeing her physical form completely dismantled his defenses.
And their history is actually so normal and grounded compared to the rest of these reality TV monsters we've been analyzing. It's refreshing.
So refreshing.
They dated for years. Back in Dublin, they had a real life together, and then he moved to London for work. It wasn't cheating. It wasn't betrayal. It was a classic, heartbreaking, right person, wrong time, wrong geography situation.
They sit down for their date, and the eye contact is so intense. She tells him she missed his playful energy, and he admits that she must have manifested being here because he was literally just wishing for a real connection in the villa.
It was too pure for this show.
Yeah.
It felt like I was watching a completely different romantic movie.
She said he always boosted her up and made her proud to be his partner, and he looked at her with tears in his eyes and said she feels like home. Looking at Sarah, such a feeling of emotions, it feels like home.
Wow.
Babes, I cannot handle genuine functional love on this beach. I am programmed to consume toxicity. My brain doesn't know what to do with healthy communication, but they are so unbelievably cute. I want them to get married, adopt a dog, and move back to Ireland immediately to live a quiet life.
It was a beautiful, wholesome orbit. It was a stark reminder of what actual human connection looks like. But do not worry, because the producers of this show are sadists, and they know we, the audience, cannot tolerate too much happiness before we get bored.
No, the whiplash.
So they transition us aggressively, with zero warning, from those wholesome Irish tears to absolute apocalyptic fury. We need to talk about Storm Sophie and the absolute unmitigated disaster that is Curtis Pritchard.
I am already yelling. Just hearing his name makes my blood pressure spike to dangerous levels. My jaw is clenching.
Curtis is currently trapped in a suffocating nightmare of his own making, caught between his ex, Sophie, who just arrived to ruin his vacation, and his new connection, Hannah, who is rapidly losing her patience.
And during this space party, Curtis makes a decision. A decision so profoundly stupid, so lacking in basic situational awareness that it belongs in the reality TV hall of infamy.
Break it down for us.
He is standing there talking to Sophie, his ex. Hannah is watching them from a distance, understandably tense, arms crossed, monitoring the situation. And what does Curtis do? Does he politely excuse himself? No. He dances with Sophie.
But not just a dance.
And I do not mean a little two-step or a casual sway to the music. He physically, athletically lifts her into the air.
He lifted her. He gave her a full-blown, dirty dancing, theatrical, highly romantic, sweeping lift in the middle of a crowded party, while the girl he is actively pursuing is standing 10 feet away, watching the entire thing unfold.
Hannah, rightfully, justifiably lost her absolute mind.
And the lift itself isn't even the most egregious part. The truly dark psychology comes out when Hannah confronts him about it later. The excuse he gives: I had to rewind the tape and to pause the television, stand up, and physically pace around my kitchen island to process the words that came out of his mouth.
Babes, break down the excuse. Please sociologically explain this to the Snark squad because my brain is still malfunctioning trying to comprehend the audacity.
Curtis, with a completely straight face, devoid of any irony or guilt, looks at a furious Hannah and says, and I quote, "That's actually the lift that I wanted to teach you. A dance move is a dance move."
A dance move is a dance move. Are you kidding me?
That's what he said.
You do not practice a romantic, sweeping, physically intimate lift on your ex-girlfriend to quote-unquote test it out for the new girl. That is the most gaslighting, delusional, unhinged defense I have ever heard in my entire life. Who does he think he is talking to?
It is the defense of a man who has never, ever been held accountable for his actions in his entire adult life. He fundamentally thought he could logic his way out of a deeply emotional betrayal using the technicalities of choreography. I tried to separate the physical act from the emotional context. He thought, well, if I categorize this as instructional dance, the romantic implications are nullified. It's that terrifying glimpse into how toxic individuals compartmentalize their bad behavior. But astonishingly, that isn't even the worst part of their interaction.
Oh no, it gets so much worse because then we get the real confrontation. The argument escalates from the dance floor to their shared history. Hannah is furious.
She is seeing red.
She's crying, she's frustrated, her voice is shaking, and she finally throws out the ultimate accusation that has been brewing. She looks at him and says she heard from a mutual friend that Curtis slept with someone else while he was away on tour.
The big reveal.
This was after they had technically broken up, but while they were still actively talking and trying to figure things out, she demands the truth. She wants him to own it.
And Curtis, backed into a corner, completely devoid of an escape route, delivers what I am officially crowning the reality TV quote of the year, perhaps the decade.
Here it comes.
He looks at her, exasperated, genuinely believing he is defending his honor, and shouts, "I didn't actually sleep with her. I only gave head."
I cannot. I absolutely fundamentally cannot. I paused the TV. I screamed into a decorative throw pillow. My soul left my body. I only gave head.
The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated, blinding audacity to use that specific phrasing as a defense mechanism. This is the ultimate example of what I call semantic gaslighting.
Semantic gaslighting, yes.
He genuinely thought that by clarifying the specific mechanical sexual act that occurred, he was proving his innocence. He built a legalistic loophole in his own brain. Technically, the strict parameters of penile vaginal intercourse were not met. Therefore, the definition of sleeping with does not apply. Therefore, I am a loyal, innocent king who is being wrongly accused.
Babes, if a man ever looked me in the eye amidst a tearful confrontation about fidelity and tried to mitigate his cheating by specifying the exact physical acts he performed on another woman's body, I would transcend my physical form.
You would vaporize him.
I would turn into pure, blinding, radioactive energy and vaporize him on the spot. Hannah's face when he said that. The absolute disgust. The revulsion.
It is the most analytical, sociopathic way to handle a relationship dispute. It's exactly like a defense lawyer arguing a tiny procedural technicality in court, completely ignoring the fact that the entire building is actively on fire and everyone knows his client holds the match.
He missed the point entirely.
He missed the entire emotional point. Hannah rightfully says she doesn't trust him, that he throws low blows to deflect, and she is just entirely done with the circus. And honestly, good for her.
Good for her. Stand your ground, Hannah. He is a walking, talking disaster of a human being. But wait, because Curtis isn't the only boy in this villa making catastrophic, reality-bending choices. Let's pivot our rage to a man whose ego is as inflated as his biceps. Chase.
Chase. Chase's storyline in this episode is a sweeping Shakespearean masterclass in sheer hubris. The tablet of terror chimes, and it forces Chase to pick exactly one girl to go on a private, one-on-one date.
Okay, lay out the options for him.
Let's look at the chessboard here. His ex, Joena, the woman he specifically came to this beach for, the woman he's been crying about, the woman he repeatedly stated he wanted to win back, is standing right there.
Right there, in his line of sight. Ready to go on a date. Ready to give him a chance. And what does Chase do? Does he take the olive branch? No.
He chooses violence.
He chooses pure, unadulterated chaos. He looks right past Joena, right through her, and picks Curtis's ex, Sophie, for the date.
And you can physically see the light leave Joena's eyes in that moment. It was a catastrophic choice, driven by pure ego. But we must break down the actual date itself, because it was horrifying on a sensory level. They get sent on an art date by the beach.
An art date where the producers conveniently provided no paintbrushes. So what do? They decide to use their bodies as the tools. Babes, they are aggressively rubbing bright blue acrylic paint all over each other's half-naked bodies under the hot sun.
It was deeply, viscerally uncomfortable to watch. It felt primal in the worst way. Chase is looking at her, whispering that he wants to dive into her, which, gross. They are covered head to toe in blue paint. He's smearing it on her arms, her chest.
And then what did he say to the camera?
He literally admits to the camera that there was absolutely no artistic thought to the creation except for the explicit goal of putting his blue handprints on her ass cheeks.
I'm gagging. It's so messy. It's so deeply disrespectful. And then the climax of the disaster, they have to return to the villa. They walk through the front doors, and it looks like they just slaughtered a Smurf in the driveway. They are completely covered in blue paint. Sophie has smeared blue paint all over her lips. Chase has bright blue paint all around his mouth.
It is the most damning, irrefutable physical evidence of a hookup imaginable. It is the neon lace bra confession all over again, but painted on their faces. This isn't just about exploring a connection. This is Chase physically marking Sophie.
Marking his territory again.
He is using the paint as a brand so that when he walks back into that villa, Joena is forced to visually process his desirability. And Chase, the absolute spineless coward, tries to play it off to Joena. He pulls her aside for the most awkwardly tense conversation in human history.
The conversation was painful.
Joena, staring at his blue-stained face, asks point blank if they kissed. And Chase stammers out, "I'm not denying we kissed, but it literally was just like a peck. It was nothing."
A peck. You have literal, defined blue handprints on her glutes, Chase. Your mouth is stained like you ate a blueberry pie. That was not a respectful little peck. And this is the precise moment I actually gained so much profound respect for Joena.
Really?
Because she doesn't scream, she doesn't cry, she doesn't give him the dramatic reaction his ego is desperately craving. She just has this cold, calculating realization wash over her face.
She goes completely ice cold. Her emotional temperature drops to absolute zero. In her confessional, she says, "This is a completely different person. He is not the Chase I know. And to be honest, I don't want this Chase."
The door slamming shut.
It was the sound of a heavy steel vault door slamming shut forever. The mechanism locked. He overplayed his hand, trying to make her jealous. And instead, he completely eradicated whatever lingering affection she had for him.
Babes, I am arguing right now, definitively, that Chase is the ultimate villain of this episode. Even more than Curtis.
More than Curtis.
Wow.
Yes.
The blatant disrespect of parading around in front of your ex, covered in the physical evidence of another woman's body paint while claiming you want to win her back, it is sociopathic behavior. It is cruel.
Okay, I hear you, but I'm going to naturally disagree with you here. Let's look at the broader context of the environment, because isn't the entire foundational premise of X on the Beach to explore new sparks?
I mean, yes.
The Tablet of Terror intentionally forces them into these compromising situations. And let's not rewrite history here. Joena wasn't exactly sitting quietly in a convent waiting for Chase to prove his love. She was heavily, actively flirting with Kane all week.
Okay, yes, she was flirting with Kane. I'm not denying that. But Kane is a gentleman. Kane is respectful. Kane even pulled Chase aside and explicitly said he was stepping back out of respect for Chase's history with Joena. Chase actively, purposefully humiliated Joena in front of the entire group. There is a massive, gaping canyon of difference between respectfully flirting while making coffee in the kitchen and coming home looking like a deranged Jackson Pollock painting after making out with the new girl.
That is a fair distinction. The execution was completely, utterly botched. He lacked the finesse required for the game. Speaking of botched execution and lack of finesse, we have to talk about the nighttime activity.
I know, the nighttime.
Because the cast, in their infinite alcohol-fueled wisdom, decides to sit in a circle and play a game of suck and blow with a playing card.
The messiest, most destructive game ever invented by bored humans. It is scientifically designed to ruin lives and destroy relationships.
Yep. And Ronnie. Sweet, chaotic, simple-minded Ronnie. He's currently sharing a bed with Hannah. They have, in his own words, instant chemistry. They are cuddling at night. They are hitting it off. She's finding comfort in him after the Curtis disaster.
You're so cute.
But during this fateful game of suck and blow, the card drops, and Ronnie's drawn forfeit is to kiss the girl in the circle he is most attracted to, other than Hannah.
And who does he choose to kiss? Amy. He grabs Amy and kisses her right in front of everyone, right in front of Hannah.
And not just a little polite peck on the cheek to fulfill the rules of the game, a real passionate kiss. Let's map out the absolute tangled web of disaster currently occupying this villa floor plan. Kane is trying to flirt with Joena because Chase abandoned her.
Chase is rubbing toxic blue paint on Sophie.
Ronnie is bouncing like a pinball between Hannah's bed and Amy's lips. And Curtis is somewhere in the dark corner of the patio trying to convince a palm tree that he only gave head.
It is a nuclear meltdown, the alarms are blaring, and just as the dust is starting to settle from the horrible card game, just as people are washing their faces, getting ready to go to sleep and process their individual traumas in the dark, the Tablet of Terror strikes again. The dreaded chime goes off.
The chime. Let's talk about the psychology of that chime. It is a brilliant use of a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, exactly like a slot machine in a casino, or the B.F. Skinner box experiments with pigeons. The producers conditioned the cast to experience a spike of adrenaline and dread every time that noise plays. It strips away their emotional defenses.
It's evil.
And this time, it announces a brutal double elimination. But there's a massive structural twist. The girls have to collectively vote out a boy, and the boys have to collectively vote out a girl.
And Sophie and Joena are granted immunity, so the new girls are completely safe, which means the original cast, the ones who've been building these fragile alliances, are on the chopping block. And the episode literally cuts to black right as this nasty, impossible decision is about to be made. The ultimate cliffhanger. I screamed at my television.
It is masterful pacing by the production team, I have to admit. They know exactly how to manipulate the audience's dopamine. But let's speculate, babes. Let's loudly debate this outcome. Based on the sociology of the house, who's getting sent packing?
Okay, let's break it down.
If the girls have to vote out a boy, they have to unite, right? Are they going to act on moral principle and eliminate Curtis for the abhorrent head comment? Or are they going to eliminate Chase for the sheer blue paint disrespect?
Oh, if I am a girl standing in that villa right now, I am leading a full-blown torches and pitchforks revolution against Curtis. The girls need to stand in absolute solidarity with Hannah. Curtis needs to pack his bags and go back to whatever ballroom dance studio he crawled out of. He is a menace.
But knowing how these girls operate,
Knowing the internal politics, they might vote out Chase because Joena has a lot of sway and sympathy in the house right now after being humiliated.
see, I look at the group dynamics and I think Curtis is safe. Why? Because he provides too much chaotic entertainment value for the rest of the guys. They won't let him leave. I think the boys might take the coward's way out and vote out someone quiet who doesn't rock the boat. Or they might maliciously turn on Amy because she's caught in the Ronnie crossfire and makes an easy scapegoat. It is going to be a bloodbath regardless.
A literal bloodbath. Okay, babes, I need to take a breath. We need to transition to our segments because I have so many feelings coursing through my veins right now, and I need to categorize them before I explode. Let's hit segment 1, X's we'd throw into the ocean. We need to discuss the specific types of X's that absolutely ruin a vacation vibe.
Let's apply this theoretical framework directly to the current cast. If we were physically standing on Tenerife looking out over those beautiful jagged cliffs, and we were forced by a law to launch one of these X's into the Atlantic waves to cleanse the island, who are we throwing?
It is an incredibly tight race between Curtis and Chase. They are neck and neck for the absolute worst, but honestly, when I search my soul, I am throwing Curtis. The deep, lasting psychological damage of the dance move excuse is too much for me to bear. I would pick him up by his perfectly tailored, overpriced swim trunks and launch him directly into the high tide. The ocean can have him.
See, I am throwing Chase. And here's my analytical reasoning. Curtis is, at the very least, somewhat upfront about his utter delusion. He says the quiet part out loud. Chase is deeply manipulative. He plays the nice guy role. He plays the wounded, sensitive puppy who just desperately wants Joena back, crying about his lost love, and then he immediately aggressively jumps at the very first shiny new object that walks onto the beach and literally rubs paint on her to mark his territory. The blue paint disrespect is a physical, tactile offense. The hypocrisy is staggering. He is going into the ocean.
Okay, that is a highly valid argument that hypocrisy is real. Let's move to segment 2. Vacation red flags. What are the absolute biggest relationship red flags you can spot while traveling with someone? Because this show is just a masterclass in what not to do on an international trip. Think about your own past vacations, Snark Squad.
The absolute biggest red flag, as demonstrated perfectly by Curtis in this episode, is when a partner claims a deeply physical or romantic action doesn't mean anything simply because you were in a vacation setting. The dance lift with an ex doesn't mean anything because it's instructional defense. Or Chase's it was just a peck, even though we were completely covered in each other's body paint defense. If your partner loses their entire grip on reality and basic respect just because the UV index is high and there are palm trees in their peripheral vision, you need to run.
Run immediately. Do not pass go. Another massive, glaring red flag is the ex showing up and acting like they just coincidentally ended up at the exact same resort. Like the confession we read earlier. If we are traveling together, trying to have a romantic getaway, and your toxic ex is suddenly sitting at the hotel lobby bar, polishing his knee like a lunatic, I am packing my bags, calling an Uber to the airport, and taking the next flight home. I will not participate in the drama.
Exactly. The invasion of the safe space. So evaluating the current roster, which couple here would be the absolute worst to travel with, and who would be the best?
Curtis. And literally anyone. Traveling with Curtis would be an actual waking nightmare. Picture it. You'd be at the airport desperately trying to get through security, and he'd be holding at the line trying to teach the TSA agent a salsa routine while you are actively missing your boarding call.
And when you confront him about it, he'd justify it by utilizing his semantic gaslighting, saying he didn't technically make you miss the flight, he just gave the airplane a strategic head start.
Stop. I am dead. Do not make me picture that. That is exactly what you would say.
The best couple to travel with, undeniably, objectively, is John and Sarah. They're the only two people on this cursed island capable of experiencing actual baseline human emotion and empathy. If we traveled with them, they would plan a nice, balanced itinerary. We'd have a few pints of Guinness at a local pub. We'd talk about our feelings, and they would go to bed at a reasonable hour without destroying the furniture.
I love them so much. They're my anchors in this storm. Okay, moving on to segment 3. Reality TV hookup disaster scale. We need to rank the flirtations and hookups in this specific episode from mildly messy to absolute nuclear catastrophe.
Okay, starting at the bottom tier, mildly messy. I would put Kane flirting with Joena. Kane handled it relatively well from a sociological standpoint. He communicated, he told Chase directly that he stepped back, he was respectful of the history between Chase and Joena, but he still made his romantic interest known to her. It's messy because it involves an ex's territory, but it's standard, acceptable reality TV operating procedure.
Agreed. Kane is the blueprint for how to be messy respectfully. Okay, moving up the scale to very messy. Ronnie kissing Amy during the game of Suck and Blow while he is currently actively sharing a bed with Hannah.
It is so messy. The lack of impulse control is staggering. He literally said to the camera earlier, "I've got to use my head for once and not my personality." But his personality is clearly in the driver's seat. He cut the brake lines, and the car is speeding directly toward a cliff. You cannot cuddle a girl all night, establish physical intimacy, and then publicly, passionately kiss another girl the very next evening and expect zero emotional fallout. The math does not compute.
The fallout is coming. Hannah's going to erupt. And finally, at the absolute top of the scale, the peak of destruction, nuclear catastrophe. We have Chase rubbing bright blue paint on Sophie's cheeks while Joena is standing in the kitchen waiting for him.
It is Chernobyl levels of disaster. The radioactive fallout from that body painting session is going to poison the groundwater of the villa for the rest of the season. Joena's trust is completely eradicated. Sophie is now marked territory. And Chase, in his blinding hubris, genuinely thinks he did nothing wrong. It is catastrophic failure on every level of human interaction.
It is art that belongs in the trash. Okay, final segment before we wrap this up and try to recover our sanity. Segment 4. Would you survive X on the beach? We touched on this briefly earlier, but let's really genuinely debate how long each of us would realistically last emotionally in that specific environment.
Let's be brutally, painfully honest with ourselves and the audience. As analytical as I pretend to be, as much as I love diagnosing these people from afar, my downfall wouldn't even be the romantic drama. It would be the sheer, suffocating lack of privacy. I am a Hobbit gamer babe at my core. I need at least 4 hours of uninterrupted alone time in a dark, silent room just to regulate my nervous system. The moment a producer told me I had to sleep in a communal room with 8 other snoring, arguing, blue paint-covered people with unresolved trauma, I would self-evict.
Yeah.
I would scale the villa wall. I wouldn't last 48 hours.
I wouldn't even make it to the first night's sleep. I am way too emotional. I absorb everyone else's energy. The very second the tablet of terror made that little piercing dinging sound, my fight or flight response would fully activate and I would choose flight. If I had to stand on a beach surrounded by cameras and watch an ex slowly walk out of the water toward me, I would spiral so hard I would drop to my knees, dig a hole in the sand with my bare hands, and bury myself like a crab. I cannot handle direct confrontation. I would cry until I dehydrated.
Exactly. We are built for the Snark side, not the beach side. It is better this way. It is safer. We observe the chaos through a glass screen. We analyze the lab rats, but we do not participate in the experiment.
Exactly. We know our place in the ecosystem. But babes, before we let you go, before you return to your own messy lives, we want to leave the Snark Squad with a deep, provocative thought to mull over tonight while you are lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, actively avoiding your responsibilities.
Think about this. Really analyze the psychology here. Why do hot people on reality TV continuously, without fail, time after time, seek out the exact same toxic traits in new partners that they absolutely despised in their exes? They cry on camera about being disrespected, lied to, and manipulated, and then the next day they immediately walk across the villa to flirt with the most disrespectful, manipulative person available. Why?
It's so true. It is a relentless cycle. So ask yourself, is the villa actually a mirror reflecting their own internal damage and unresolved trauma back at them? Or is it just a massive, beautifully lit, highly produced echo chamber of bad decisions where they are doomed to repeat the cycle forever because they lack self-awareness?
I think it's both. They are trapped in a behavioral loop. And I think that's exactly why we literally cannot stop watching them. It's human nature to watch a train wreck.
We will never stop watching. We are committed to the mess. Babes, thank you so much for hanging out with us in the Tuesday evening chaos. The slushies are gone, the cheese sticks are a memory, and this has been exactly what I needed to survive the week.
Thank you, Snark Squad. You validate our delusions. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please, for the love of everything, share this recording with a missy friend who desperately needs to hear about the blue paint disaster as a cautionary tale.
We love you guys so much. Stay messy, stay dramatic, and we will see you on the snark side.